Hello everyone, my name is Eddie Joe. I am an intensivist. The article that I'm going to be taking apart today is titled Thiamine as a Renal Protective Agent in Septic Shock. This article was published in May of 2017 and today is October 19th, 2019. That means it's taken me 2 years to run across this article and therefore I am a little bit embarrassed. This is my interpretation of this article, and I may be making some errors. I am not a statistical genius. I am a boots-on-the-ground bedside intensivist, not in academia, trying to do the best for my patients. I'm a human. I make mistakes. If you learned anything, absolutely anything from this video, please hit the like button and or comment on my video, as it helps the YouTube algorithm promote my page, and therefore these articles and videos get to more people. Also, I am on social media on both Instagram and Twitter. My handle is @EddieJoeMD. The links to this article, which is completely free, I definitely recommend that you download this article and read it for yourself. As well as many of the other articles that I share on YouTube and Instagram are on my website, eddiejoemd.com. Check the description box below. Okay, now that that's all over with, let's go ahead and get started. Let me go over here and let's get to where the actual title of the article is. Okay. First and foremost, hats off to the people who wrote the article and who did this study. First and foremost, I do not do research myself, so I owe a lot to these guys. Then, in addition to that, I'd like to mention that this is a post-hoc analysis, basically a secondary analysis. What that means, just so people know, is that there was a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial that was conducted by the same authors, and then they took that data. By the way, that study, this one right here, was a pilot study. If you don't know what a pilot study is, you should definitely go check that out. I can't explain it to you right now. But they looked at the patients within that study who had acute kidney injury, as well as renal replacement therapy, and they looked at what the effects of thiamine supplementation was to the incidence of acute kidney injury and renal replacement therapy. Okay? Like I mentioned, it's a secondary analysis of a single-center randomized double-blind trial comparing thiamine to placebo. So it was a 1-to-1 ratio of thiamine to placebo. And they looked at a bunch of outcomes. Okay, so let me get off of this before the copyright people get to me, because ultimately I just want to teach you things, and let's try to use this open format. Okay. Now, some of you will bash this study for being small because it didn't have a great amount of patients in it. Okay, all in all, there were 70 patients in this post-hoc analysis. But in my opinion, every possible option to decrease morbidity, to decrease mortality, and decrease costs in septic shock patients is worth a look. And again, I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't know about the study until recently. Now, just a couple things about thiamine. We know, based on other data, that the incidence of thiamine deficient in septic shock patients is between 20 to 70%. And there is data that giving thiamine makes these patients better. I'm not going to go into any of that data. Also, there's no such thing as an overdose of thiamine. At least that's described in the literature. Thiamine is a water-soluble vitamin, and we consume it every day. The thing is, sick people can't necessarily consume it. The other thing is that it's cheap. So, not expensive. Let's look at what they did in this trial though. So, out of these 70 patients, well, first of all, it was 80 patients, but out of those 80 patients, they excluded a bunch of them for one reason or another, and so it ended up being 70 patients. Of those 70 patients, 38 were thiamine recipients, and 39 patients were patients who got placebo. Then when you go ahead and you look at the rates of renal replacement therapy, there was only one patient who required renal replacement therapy, aka dialysis, in the thiamine group versus 8 patients requiring renal replacement therapy in the placebo group. What does that mean? That the incidence was 3.2% in the group that received thiamine versus 20.5% in the group that received placebo. I know in the world of data, the fact that this was a secondary analysis, so that was a little bit too bright. The fact that this was a secondary analysis and based on the back of a pilot study, you might say, Eddie, this is not good enough data. And if you say that, well, you're a data snob, and that's okay too. But ultimately, if this was you or your family member, and you guys are in septic shock, God forbid, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. But if you were in septic shock and you had the opportunity to receive thiamine, which is cheap, relative to all the other stuff, and there are no adverse effects, would you rather be in the group that has an incidence of requiring renal replacement therapy of 3.2% or the group that is 20%? That's my question for you. I know what group I'm going to be in. It's called this one. And what am I going to be doing for my patients? Because it is cheap and doesn't have any side effects, I'm going to be giving them thiamine when they are in septic shock. Okay? This is what I'm going to do. Any questions? Go ahead, leave me some comments below. What do you think? Please read this article yourself. Definitely recommend it. Don't trust me. Ultimately, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you learned anything, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.